Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Wholesome channel and the second episode of Feed the Monster. What's this? Yum, yum, give me some. Well, I often wondered, with Feed the Monster, what was meant with the phrase itself. And I'm coming to the conclusion that Feed the Monster isn't so much the monster, the desire to have a piece of equipment, but rather the maintenance monster. When I got this machine, I knew it was in pretty rough shape, and it would need some TLC. Some of the when you saw it in the first video, you could see there was all kinds of I don't know what fenders on the thing and whatnot. I still have all that stuff, but they're pretty rotted out. And got a fly in here. I knew there was going to be a lot of work, restoration work, paint work. The paint is in atrocious shape. The hand cranks here need to be replaced. I need to make new hand cranks and stuff like that. But anyway, I bought the machine and it was working at the time. The feed on the table was working. The cross slide was working. The up and down was working. Everything was working as intended. And as I got to playing around with it, things started little by little, started crapping out on me. Now this machine also has a coolant tank with it, and that's part of the reason that a lot of the electric components in here have really been in bad shape. As you can see down below, I still got the panel off the distribution box. Some of the relays in there hang up and don't engage when you press the button, like the up and down here. When I press to lower it, now up until today, when I press that button to lower the head, the thing would just sit there and buzz and buzz and buzz and buzz, and then all of a sudden it'd take off and go. So, but anyway, the thing raises and lowers. Then there's a rheostat on here. I'm not sure if that's for raising and lower the head after a cycle, or if it's to advance the feed here on the cross feed. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. The old rheostat went gunny bag on me, so I had to replace it, and the wire felt it. I tried soldering it on, it didn't stick. So now I got to redo it and see what's going on with that. But I have a feeling it's for this cross feed here. But when I was running it before the wire fell off, the head was raised and lowered. So anyway, this is an ABRIDged FF. Let me take a look here. FF61. So if anybody out there in YouTube land and whatnot has any idea and any information on this thing, anything would be greatly appreciated. I've been looking online trying to run down a owner's manual, operation manual, anything in that regards. Nothing. I even contacted the manufacturer. I was able to get some spindle oil for it. The spindle oil is kind of a interesting feature. It's really thin because the glide bearings in the grinder head up here, in the spindle bearings are hand scraped to 3 microns, and so it takes a really thin oil in order to get into there. And of course, this head's pretty much worn out. The whole machine is fairly worn out. So as I was playing with it, of all things to go hen shit on me was the hydraulics for the feed. I was just going to be content with the thing going back and forth and having to advance it by hand and all that, which is what I'm doing now. But the hydraulics that move this this portion of the thing back and forth just quit working on me altogether. And I couldn't figure it out at first. I heard the motor turning, but I couldn't figure out why the hydraulic pump wasn't going. So I opened all that up, and there's a coupler in there made out of some kind of I don't know, some kind of plastic or something. And it disintegrated, literally. And I'm thinking the reason they put this in here is because this hydraulic pump probably doesn't have a pressure relief valve. So when you run up against something, say you run up to the end of your cylinder, rather than break the cylinder or something like that or something, it shears off that collar in there and saves the system from overloading. So anyway, here's a picture of the ring that I had to make. Now, granted, this thing looks pretty rough, and it was an experiment that I didn't know if it was going to work, so I really didn't bother to document the progress that I was making or how I was going about getting this thing to work. I mean, it works now when let's see, I'm going to turn on there's another interesting feature. Without the mag plate on, this thing won't run. So you got to turn on the mag plate. So and as you see, it works. So in order to recreate that part, I didn't know where to start, and I saw a video from a guy from Switzerland, I think it was, where he does restoration projects. He restored a scooter, and he had this two-component kind of a rubber, and so I started combing the internet and found something out of England, and I ordered that compound up, and it's a two-part. Here's a picture. So I ordered this stuff up, and then I thought, how are you going to make this part? So what I did is I ordered up a piece of Delrin and made this part right here. And the grooves weren't cut in it yet. Now I could put the inside portion of it on the mill and mill out the slots. It had 14 slots on both sides, exactly. Had the portions and pieces, little bits and pieces of the old ring. Here's a picture. And so I was able to recreate that trapezoidal shape with the tool that I made. I had to actually make a tool for the a little bit for the mill on the boring head, and then I stuck it on, used the part, the dividing head and all that good jazz, and made the part. So that part of it worked out really good, and I was making fast progress. Now comes for the tricky part. How do you get those grooves in the inside of that ring for the outside? So I had to sit and put on my thinking cap, and I came up with this part right here. Now, what I did is I took that 14 divisions. I made a Morse taper 4 piece that you stick on the lathe, the shaft, Morse taper for it fits into the tailstock. And so I made that, and then I took the stub of it and milled 14 slots into it, or 14 divots into it. I just drilled them in, and then with a grub screw on both sides of the thing, because it's 14. Now if this was an odd count, then I'd be stuck using one grub screw for locating the knife on the tool. And so what happened here, and this is the reason these things look kind of cattywampus, the first one turned out, it just went into self-destruct mode. I didn't know if this stuff was going to release from the mold or not, and so it kind of went into self-destruct mode. And that's this part right here. And so for the subsequent tries, I used heavy oil, then silicone. The next attempt is going to be with talcum powder. So that's what they use in other rubber products, for gloves and stuff, what have you. And that's the release agent for the rubber from the mold there. So I'm going to try that and see if that works any better. But I do have one spare ring just in case, and no, these aren't some kind of kinky sex toy. They look it, but it's not what it is. It's actually a coupler. It's like a Lovejoy coupler in between the motor and the hydraulic pump. And like I said, it's just safety features so that when the hydraulics stall, it doesn't ruin the pump or blow something else up in the machine. So anyway, on with the program here. So I made this thing, and here it is in the lathe. And as you can see, the knife sticks out there a ways. And the one thing I didn't realize is the knife. I started out, I was just going to take the 1/10 of a millimeter cut. I was just going to go ahead and take small cuts. And as I ran the thing in, what happened, because that knife is so fragile, shall we say, it's not fragile as such, but it definitely deflected. The tip of the knife is angled off a little bit. Here's a picture. And so it would dig into the material and deflect into the material and really gouge out a deep groove. And when he got to the end, it just popped. And I thought, oh crap, hopefully I didn't break the knife off. Well, luckily it didn't. It made all 14 cuts. They start off and they're a little tapered. And the taper actually worked out to my benefit. Because when you put this thing together and try to insert the grooves into one another, the taper actually makes it align a little better and goes in a lot better. So it seemed to work out okay. So I'm just going to, leave sleeping dogs lay. I don't want to wake that monster up anymore. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it. I did order some other pieces of HSS that are a little taller, same width, but in the event that I have to rework the form, the mold a little bit and get the form, that trapezoidal shape, a little closer to where it needs to be. But with things working as good as they are, I stuck the thing in. I'm still on that first ring that I made. It's still holding up. As long as it's going to work, I'm not going to monkey with it. It's just, it runs good enough. So anyway, here's a picture of the ways of the machine. As you can see, there's plenty of scrape marks still left in it. The other side, this side back here is a little worse for wear and tear because the little oil level indicator. There's like little cups. Here's a picture. One of them is broken, and so that always ran dry, and so evidently the whole thing wore a little more on that end than it did in other places. But other than that, the thing actually still works. I started off when I was monkeying with it. I was going to grind the table, the base part of it, you know, because when I got the machine, the mag base had sheared, this bolt here, the hold down bolt had sheared. And that was from the rust that had flaked off underneath the mag base from the coolant that they were running. I'm guessing they must have ran straight water for a time, or some kind of home concoction that they made up themselves, and so it caused a real serious problem with corrosion. And I had to get a special wheel for grinding cast, and so I wound up starting grinding that, and that's when the hydraulics went hen shit on me, and so I had to, you know, resort to the steps that I did to get it running again. And so then I got this thing, I took it off, put it on the mill, milled the bottom side of this thing because it was atrocious. It was pitted so bad. There's pits in there of almost a 1/4 inch deep. It's just bad. And so, like I said, I stuck it on the mill, milled the bottom side of it off, and then when I got that done, once I got it done, stuck the thing on the upside down, ground the back side, flipped it over, ground the top side, and then I started in on some of my other grinding projects that I have. As you can see, this mag plate is it's got some oomph to it. So this is one of my hold down angles, or whatever you want to call it. It's been laying on the bench for 5 years. It's time that it got finished. So anyway, I finished up my 246 blocks, my other tie down square and all that good jazz, and so now we're getting some of these grinding projects caught up. But there's going to be some more episodes on this machine as we go through it. The traverse shaft here is worn pretty bad. It needs to be replaced. It's got a trapezoidal thread. It's an M thread, I think M3 or something like that, by I forget what diameter it is, but it's a 3 millimeter thread pitch. And you know, then there's other things too. The grinder spindle, the head spindle needs gaskets replaced. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can get them. Like I say, I've been in contact with the manufacturer. To have this head rebuilt is going to be a little over $7 grand, so that's a little bit out of my price league right now. So we're just going to make do with what we got and try to get something going here and get this thing back to some kind of semblance of working order. You know, it'd be nice to have the automatic advance on the crossfeed again. I'm going to see about getting that going again. And Dyno Guy, if you're working, I'm going to be picking your brain about this machine a little bit. I did manage to get some of the buttons switched out, and you know, got the electrics going again. It doesn't have any electronics. You can see that down there. It's just a bunch of relays and stuff like that. It all runs on 240 volts. So anyway, sorry about not being able to show any of the work in progress. It was just basically a bunch of milling and turning and, you know, making a dovetail in the end of that tool. Now I need to make a balancing jig and fixture so that I can balance the wheel. These are very sensitive, so you got to balance the wheel. out of the machine, and then you mount it with the arbor onto, or with the, yeah, it's an arbor of sorts, onto the main arbor of the machine, onto the spindle, and then you get a better grind. So I still got to make one of those. Still a lot of work to do left on this thing, but it's getting there. It's been a little over a year in the making. Of course, COVID didn't help. You know, a guy falls into the doldrums there and you just lose all ambition, but I still kept after it the best I could and kept going, you know, on this thing, on this project to kind of get it done and get it working again, because I really needed it. So anyway, if there's any thoughts, comments, critiques, or suggestions, granted today is just an abridged version. That's why I'm putting in the stills and not showing you any of the actual work processes that it took to get this thing going again. I do apologize for that, because one, I had no confidence in the project that it would work, mainly in the casting. I didn't think that the rubber would actually be strong enough to withstand the pressures that the hydraulics put on the pump. And but evidently it's more than adequate, so it seems to work. Like I say, if you guys have any thoughts, comments, critiques, or suggestions, put them in the comment section below. For those of you who are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and maybe give this thing a thumbs up if you liked it. If not, I can understand why. If you give it a thumbs down, give me a reason why. You know, critique is always a very valuable thing. My brother critiqued a video, and he was ruthless, but he was, you know, brutally honest, and that's what I'm looking for, is honesty, straightforward critique of what you like and what you don't like. So with that, thanks for stopping by, thanks for watching, and hope to see y'all again soon in the next video.